greatest and best advice?
Increase your price a little bit, and a little bit more, and a little bit more.
How much should I charge?
Can I curse?
I didn't have this question before.
Desires, wishes, emotions, roller coasters, manifestation, magic stuff. Hey, are you a coach? Should I be?
I think I need to do a bit of an introduction. But I don't have a lot of information about you. I know that you are a coach, and I think that you are from the same coaching federation, which is ICF.
Yes,
so,
ICF.
The same thing as myself, and I would say that this is it. The main beats are there, but I would ask you to tell a bit more about yourself. So where did you learn? What is your stage of a career right now? What do you do right now? And then we will go through some details. I will maybe ask some questions to go deeper at some parts that you will mention right now.
Okay. So I started my coaching journey, meaning my certification journey, almost 2 years ago. So in March, I did it all online because this was the start of 2021. And the courses I got certified with the Coactive Training Institute. And the courses at the time, because of COVID, were running only online. So I did my certification online. It was 4-module training followed by 6 months certification. So I did all of that. I completed it after a year, more or less. So I've been officially coaching clients for the last 2 years.
And you said that you finished your education almost 2 years right now.
Yeah. Almost 3, actually. Almost 3 years ago.
Almost 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the levels of the coaching of coaches, which is like associate coach, professional, and master coach. You are right now on an associate level, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. So I certified with the Coactive Training Institute, and that gave me a CPCC accreditation, which stands for Certified Professional Coactive Coach. And because it is a course that is accredited by the International Coaching Federation, I am at the ACC associate
coach.
Coach, by the ICF.
And I heard the word that I didn't hear before in terms of coaching, at least in English, coactive coach.
Yes.
Can you please tell more about what is it in general? Is it a specific modality of coaching? Is it something
So coactive
else?
stands for the methodology that the Coactive Training Institute use. It's the way that their courses are structured, or the coactive course is structured, and the methodology that is involved in it. It's nothing other than a name to describe the methodology, really.
Nothing special that you can tell about the methodology or the name. Okay. Well, I think, it is pretty common to name your school and name your methodology and then just use it. So, So it's not like the, I don't know, corporate coaching or life coaching or coactive coaching. It's just a name.
Yes, you bring up a good point, actually. So one of the principles of coactive is that when you get certified, you are called a life coach. I mean, that is the all-encompassing, all-englobing title, let's say, that you get given. However, you can then go on and either take a specialization with a different school in order to specialize in one of these niches, right? So career coaching or executive coaching, leadership coaching. But the coactive methodology says that once you learn it, you are able to coach anybody on just any topic, because one of the things about this methodology says that you coach the person and not per se the issue or the so-called problem, right? So it is a methodology that focuses, it's a bit holistic in that regard. It focuses on the entire person as opposed to just the issue that they might be bringing into the coaching. Yeah. To that, I mean, it's actually a good point that you bring also. I call myself under a title. I call myself a career transition coach. But that also falls under life coaching as like a bigger umbrella. Life coaching being a title that I've actually never liked for some reason. I think I have my own prejudice against it.
I hear you about the title of life coach, because I don't like it myself
Okay,
either.
I didn't know that.
You know, at least when I transitioned from coaching in Russian language to coaching in English language and positioning myself in the market as a coach, I realized that in Russian it just called the whole thing just called coaching, and you are a coach.
Right.
But in English, you need to differentiate between like sport coach, because coach is more of a sport thing.
Yes.
And
yes.
Here you need to tell you're not a sport coach, you're a life coach. But I don't teach people or train people to be better at life in general. You can say, yes, I kind of do, but it's more about helping others to bring their own potential up rather than teaching somebody to do something. So yeah, I don't like the life coaching thing either. And yes, I agree with you. It is much better and much comfortable to use more specific term, which career transition, and it's just more specific term of a general life coaching. Which brings me to another question: career transitioning.
Yes.
How come did you started the career transitioning, and how you what was your way from just generic life coach to exactly career transitioning coach?
Yeah. So kind of segueing where we were before, I think that one of the most important things for a coach to do as early as possible, really, because it's going to help out in so many parts of the process, is to identify the so-called niche, right? Niche meaning, who do I love working with? Who do I want to support? What is my target audience? And everything that comes from starting to have this conversation with yourself, right? At the beginning of my journey for practice and for gaining experience into the world of what coaching was. I mean, I had been coached by a coach before I started, my own training as a coach myself. But I used to coach everyone on anything, right? I didn't really specify, who I wanted to coach. I also didn't really know back then, right? So I wanted to treat the first months of my practice as a bit of a playground. So who is out there? Who do I resonate with the most? Try to identify my own energy as well. Like, how do I show up? And as a result, which I heard a lot during my coach training, and I thought it was a bit BS. Can I curse, by the way?
Yeah, sure.
Is this allowed on your podcast?
I will beep it. I don't know. Maybe not. I'm not. I didn't have this question before, actually. But
people are less polite than I am, maybe.
Well, I mean, I allow cursing at my coach sessions because I don't want to suppress a person who I want to feel comfortable with myself.
Exactly.
And this is one of the coaching thing to do, like very coach thing to do, to allow your peer to express themselves in which
naturally,
whatever way they feel like. So yes, you can. Yes, I will deal with it later.
Yeah, you can bleep me. Actually, Sergey, you'll have to forgive me because now I've lost my train of thought. I don't know where I was before I was. So
yeah, so you were telling about how you became the career transition coach.
So during my coach studies, the coaches that I trained with used to say during sessions, your ideal client will naturally come to you. Like the people that you want to end up working with will naturally come to you. And this is why I wanted to curse before and said, I used to think this is bullshit. I thought like, how, what is this? Like some sort of like manifestation magic stuff that I haven't tuned in yet. Like how does that possibly happen? I was proved wrong. My beliefs of, you know, oh, this is never going to happen. Like, what are you talking about? I was proved wrong in the sense that, yes, through the first months and first year, even when I started coaching, actually, I started getting people through word of mouth, recommendations, some people that I found online that came to me. And I thought, well, actually, the majority of these people are creatives. They are either artists or they come from a creative background or don't come from a creative background, but consider themselves to be creatives and want to move towards a more creative role. So it just kind of like started happening naturally. And the transition between life coach, that I never really called myself because I've never liked it, but coaching kind of everyone and, you know, on everything, then became more apparent because I started collecting all of this feedback and all of this information, right? I was in a way doing market research without knowing I was doing market research. So then I thought, okay, all of these creatives are coming my way, and these creatives, they want to start their own projects, they want to, you know, change careers completely, they want to start their own businesses, they are fed up of the corporate lifestyle and what it entitles, right? So I thought, okay, but what is behind all of that? So they are stuck in jobs where they feel like they're not really contributing to the world in any sense. They don't really feel like they have any meaning, like what they do doesn't really have any meaning, and they're looking for something else, right? So then I had to come up with a name. As we spoke about before, we have names nowadays. In everything we have titles, right? Like a label that you put on your head. Hey, what do you do? Since the clients that I work with are facing a transition, and it's usually somewhat of like a professional transition, right? Whatever that entitles next, I went with the name Career Transition Coach.
Nice.
And so
Nice.
far, so bueno. Let's see. Let's see.
Okay. Speaking of labels or even like generally things that help at some point help coach or whatever professional, freelance professional to do this step up in the career. Usually at some point there is a step up, the significant step up in practice, in amount of clients, or in the earnings, or both. And do you feel like this finding your so-called label or finding your niche was this step up, or was it something else?
Yeah, this is a really good question. So I'd say that the upscaling in itself, which did happen once I figured out and I narrowed my niche, the upscaling that for me happened because then I knew where to go and find my clients and what they were going through. So the success in that gave me a direction that I didn't have before, because as I mentioned, I was everywhere and doing everything, right? And in terms of, because we haven't mentioned this yet, but of course within coaching, there's a big difference between what you do within a coaching session and the actual training and methodology that you're using whilst you're coaching a client versus what you need to do in order to get clients if you are freelancing or if you are a business owner in order to grow that business, right? So once I was able to narrow down this so-called title together with what is behind it, I knew where to go and find clients. I knew where they were hanging out, and I knew how I had to show up. Or I started to know, because this was a bit of a journey also, I started to know how to show up so that I can attract them and go find them and speak to them, so on and so forth. So, and you mentioned the word confidence before. Absolutely, it gave me confidence. It gave me more confidence in what I do because it made it even more clear. Like with some of the clients that I've worked already from day one until they walk out the door, as I call it, when our coaching relationship has finished, and I think, man, like this is so cool. They came to me with XYZ and they're able to leave with the results that, you know, they really wanted, but perhaps felt impossible at the beginning of our journey. So seeing that, right, and knowing that niche, knowing that audience, then definitely a confidence booster.
Yeah, and this is the not the coaching part, but coaching helps a lot because we as coaches we have a kind of a privilege to know our customers really, really deeply.
True.
And it helps. It helps to when you know your when you know a person you're working with, you know a customer, you really, after that you have an understanding where to find them. And this is marketing. It helps with marketing a lot. And this brings the part that nobody actually talks about when deciding, or I don't know, trying to tell you that coaching is such a great area, such a great thing that where you can earn money and so on. And nobody talks about that, the fact that you will not be coach only, but you will have to establish coaching business, which is not, I don't know, writing your lawyer or accountant that you need to start a business. It means that you will be business executive, you will be a marketing person, you will be your own assistant and your own IT person, which I was like a few minutes ago when I was trying to set up the interview. So yeah, it is a very complex business thing, and you just need to understand that usually it's coaching will be a small part of it.
Absolutely.
It's not gonna be even 50%. How do you feel, by the way, about my judgment of 50%?
Well,
is it for you? Is it the same for you? Is it like 50%? And by the way, if you will tell how your practice look like right now, do you find clients by yourself? Do you have somebody else that giving you clients, or is it some platform, or is it a combination of a few things?
So in terms of my client acquisition, what has worked for me very well, and it's a system that I subconsciously, because I wasn't really aware that I was doing it at the start of me becoming a coach, but a system that I kind of set in place was, I started coaching people's, my friends' friends, and then their friends, and then their friends. So this kind of like created somewhat of like a circle and a bubble of people that then were able to recommend me from within, right? Which is, when it comes to marketing, it's I believe it's one of the best ways for coaches, especially new coaches, to get clients, because then you're getting like the words from your friend or a friend of a friend, like somebody that you trust. So sometimes it's not about even having to go online. If it comes recommended, you tend to trust the person and you have a call with a coach, and then you figure it out, right? If it's a good match, so on and so forth. So in terms of my client acquisition, thankfully for me, because I continue getting referred by people that I've coached in the past. So I do a lot of that. Some people have found me online. I did an initiative on Meetup around summer this year, where, as part of my coaching practice, before a client decides, or we both actually, because it's a collaboration, decide whether we're going to be working together or not, I always put together a sample session, right? So this is a 1 hour conversation, free of charge, of course, where we do a bit of coaching, but also I get a chance to meet the person who is in front of me or via a screen, and vice versa. And then we decide, hey, are we going to work well together or not? In terms of client acquisition, I'd say that that's where I am in the moment. I am now setting in some new systems in place. So hopefully clients will then be able to find me online, and I will be able to do a lot more online engagement. In regards to what you said, how many hours am I coaching versus how many hours am I spending? Is it 50%? Like, what is the percentage, right?
On other business activities, yes.
On other business activities.
Let's call it this way.
Yeah. Right now, for me, it's 50% coaching sessions, so time that I dedicate to my already existing clients, and the other 50% is everything else. It's sample calls, it's the marketing, it's content creation, it's also me seeking out for people, it's even going to events. I go to a lot of in-person, meetups or networking events with the goal of meeting people and with the goal of perhaps meeting other freelancers, because I do believe that you never know, right? what can happen when you put yourself out there. So I'd say it's 50-50. I do think, however, it might actually depend on where you are in your journey, perhaps at the start. If a coach has just started and they don't want to be thinking about a website yet or online content, maybe they can coach 70% of their time if they're not employed, or if they have at the start. I used to coach a lot more at the start in terms of hours than I do now, right?
I actually thought you will go in other way, because I was really expecting that you will say that at the start you will be doing like marketing activities 70%. Really, I really thought you will tell me another way, but okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, not in my case, because as I said before, the start for me, what was important to me was to coach. I did obviously care about how am I going to turn this into a business. But for the first months, at least the first 6 months, even up to a year, all I wanted to do was coach, because I loved it. I loved every second of it. So what I wanted was the experience, the people, the conversations, the hour, like understand how does this methodology works? Like, what are my clients getting out of, being coached by me and engaging in these coaching collaborations? And once I knew all of that, and once I had defined the so-called niche that we were talking about before, then I could go and start doing my marketing because I had this information, right? I feel like, I'm not sure if this applies to other professions, maybe, but I feel like within coaching, there's a tendency for people to get out there very soon, which is fine. I'm not saying that is good or bad or worse or better, but the problem that I personally see with that is that if you get out there very soon without actually knowing who you're talking to and what value are you bringing to the table, and how can you contribute towards their life, then there can be a lot of information online, but there's information missing within yourself, right? And I think that further down the line, you'll need to go back to these conversations, and in a way you might be working double because the work wasn't done at the beginning, so on and so forth. I mean, I wish I was still coaching 70% of my time and I didn't have to do all of these other tasks that I need to do, right?
We were talking with you before about how you don't have a lot of social media presence. But from the other side, you are, at least I know yourself as quite easygoing and extroverted person. Which I really admire, because I'm not naturally, I am more of a shy person, and I really admire people who can position themselves in another way. But you don't have a lot of social media presence, which many of coaches that are in the start of their career, they think it's the way to go. And this is the main, or even the only way to go to start the career, to expand their coaching practice. And I see yourself not really doing that, but using other methods like networking and meeting, really physically meeting new people, clients, going to networking sessions. How do you feel about that? Why did you choose meeting people versus going to social media, and how do you feel about the results?
So at the beginning of my journey, I don't know who I heard this from, but I heard somebody who's also a coach giving advice to aspiring coaches or like beginner coaches. And something that she said really spoke to me. And that was, it doesn't really matter where you are, quote unquote, as long as you're there consistently. And as long as you pick that one channel and you learn how to use it really well, right? So again, and this can go back to like the whole niching thing. In my eyes, and this is my opinion only, I don't really see the point of being everywhere if you don't know where your audience is. First of all, I think that part of discovering, or part of like starting this journey, is about understanding, where are my people? Are my people on LinkedIn? Are my people on social media? Do my people not care at all? I was just about to curse there. I stopped myself. Do my people not care about social media? And if so, where are they? Do they go to meetup events? Are they at the gym? So like, again, I find like this information is crucial. What I found out of my own journey, and even about myself, I mean, when I picked a coach, I didn't go to, 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago now, when I started working with someone, I didn't go on LinkedIn or social media. I went on Google and I typed in career coach, so-and-so, and that's where I got my information, right? So I think it's important to understand where your audience is, understand what platform they are using, and learn how to use that really well. In my case, my people tend to be at events, right? My people tend to be outdoors at events, networking or meetups or any other kind of these initiatives that are organized. So I started investing a lot of time into that. And not only into that, but because it sounds like I only go to events to like capture clients. This is not like the impression that I want to give whatsoever. I also go to events because I get to meet other people that are either within this coaching field or related fields, HR, even people in tech that I have a lot in common. And through those conversations that I have with them, then like do new and, different doors have been able to open up for me, right? I also think it's about whether people choose or think that they should be on social media or not. Even those people that do choose to be on social media, for me, it's about, getting clients is about trust, and it's about building a relationship. I could be having a conversation with you today and you could know nothing about coaching, not care of it, think it's bullshit, or not be ready for it yet, or whatever. And we might have a conversation that we end up developing and building, and 3 years down the line, you give me a call. So I think that there's an aspect of building relationships that wherever it is that you are is super, super important. So what I mean by that, I don't think it's enough to just post or to just have like a content strategy. It can look fantastic, right? But it also takes a huge amount of work, right? As we're very well known, to put together content for whatever platform that is, and the results might not be there. All of this being said, I have started being on LinkedIn a lot more. I call it my befriending LinkedIn journey, really, because I had never used LinkedIn as a social media platform before. I used it the way it was used 10 years ago. This is my CV, boring. And now I'm like getting more into LinkedIn. Why? Because I have found out, some of my potential clients are on LinkedIn. Therefore, I want to, and I need to be there for them.
Yeah, and another aspect of using some platform or using networking events in order to find clients is that you can enjoy one thing and really don't like another. And right. I really feel that you enjoy being, in the field with people rather than sitting at home and making videos.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. That's exactly it. Yeah.
Okay. Another aspect of your coaching journey, I don't want to say coaching career right now, because I really want to ask you what happened before. How did you come to coaching? What was your first I don't know, meeting with coaching itself? Most of the times I have the same experience. First, you have some questions about your future, about yourself. You find a coach, and then you realize that coaching is a thing in general. How you meet with the coaching as a thing?
Yeah. So before I took the leap and I got certified and then eventually quit my corporate job to go into coaching full-time, et cetera, actually, excuse me, for many years before, I had thought about becoming a coach. I think I had been thinking about it since, I don't know. I mean, even when I had to go into university, I was one of these people that just didn't know what to do. I'm 18. I don't know. Like, I didn't have this vocation that a lot of people that age in my opinion, are lucky to have, because then it's a no-brainer. Okay, so I want to be a teacher, I go into a teaching degree or a teaching course, it doesn't have to be a degree, so on and so forth. I didn't have any of that. What I did have were ideas. I did think, maybe, you know, psychology and human behavior, even at the age of 18, I found super interesting. So I thought, maybe this is a path that I can take, but for some reason, I still don't understand it. I guess it doesn't matter, because this is not a a session with my therapist, but I decided not to pursue that, and I ended up doing something completely different. However, throughout the years, especially when I was already in corporate, before I got into coaching around 2016, I kept meeting a lot of people that actually asked me, hey, are you a coach, or do you do like motivational speaking? And I thought, no, but should I be, right? So like, that's when this like seed started to be planted again. And also what I found is that in all of the jobs that I've had ever since I started working, right, like the most valuable moments for me have been the moments that I have spent building relationships with people and in conversations with people, you know, like I would spend, you know, obviously I tried to do my job at the best of my abilities, but what I enjoyed the most was being at the kitchen, having a coffee with someone and asking them what they wanted to do. Like, it's something that I just naturally, or that curiosity around, or that so-called coaching curiosity that, you know, we are recognized for, I've always had, I guess. So I guess it was just a natural thing for me to kind of do. It was something that I was doing, not doing fully because I wasn't trained and didn't know the methodology, etc. But that interest was there, right? I remember when I was in New York a few years ago, I rented out this Airbnb and I shared it with some people that live there. And I spent like all night talking to the guy that lived there, about what he wanted to do. And how would you do it? And how would you this? And like, what would be the plan? And at that time, this was in 2018, I wrote it down on a piece of paper. I said, I want to become, I don't know what I wrote at this point, and I should find this paper, but I want to become like the go-to person for people that want to find themselves, or like something along these lines. So yeah, to your question, that is taking many words to answer. It's always been there. I guess I suffered a lot from imposter syndrome. So I guess I didn't feel ready to do so until I then hired a coach. And she asked me the cliche question, well, if money and time were not a problem, what would you do? And I thought, well, I talk to people. And then from there, it was just like the ultimate, call it confirmation that, okay, well, yeah, maybe this is the path, right?
Yeah, and it's really, I really enjoy to hear this from you, because I find so many similarities with how I thought about myself, you know, during university years, where to go, do I want this or that, and how can you decide when you're 18? Yeah, and me again, thinking about something like psychology therapy, something along those things, and finally finding a coach, and then going to another coaching, like group coaching thing, and realizing that, you know, the most enjoyable thing when on my corporate job, again, about talking about similarities, the most thing that I enjoy in my corporate job is talking to people, like this one-to-one sessions with my peers, with my manager, or whoever will it be, about what are we going to do, even if it's a business task.
Yes,
That one-to-one conversation was the best thing that was always that I enjoyed most in my corporate career. Yeah. By the way, in short, you are from Spain. You now live in Portugal.
Yes.
You had a corporate career, and you're a coach right now.
Yes.
Yes,
to everything.
Yes. Anything, any significant details about yourself, about your life, that I think it's worth, you think it's worth sharing in again, career in coaching perspective, in coaching, adding to the picture of Clara the coach?
This is a brilliant question, and it actually reminds me, excuse me, I have an annoying cough. It actually reminds me, I went to a workshop a couple of weeks ago, and the workshop it was facilitated by two friends of mine who are brilliant, and I recommend them, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the first exercise that we started with was something called the hero's journey, right? Where what we were asked to do was to like highlight what were the so-called it moments that were eye-opening or aha moments or whatnot that kind of like brought us to where we are, right? And I'm bringing this up now because I found a connection in the question that you asked me, right? So like, what other kind of like significant events have happened in your life that kind of like brought you to this path? And what I wrote, or what I drew, actually very poorly drew, in this hero's journey, was that from a very young age, people, and I mean everybody, I mean even people that were a lot older than I was, and even some of my friends' parents and my friends and friends of friends, would always seek to talk to me, right? And this was always usually around, it wasn't even about giving advice, it was more or the way that I perceived it then, and looking back I still do, they kind of felt comfortable sharing very personal information with me, right? Desires, wishes, emotions, roller coasters, all of this. And this started happening, from since I was like 10. So, and I bring this up because I guess that for me, there has always been a familiarity in engaging in the depths of conversation, right? That one-on-one, that asking questions that might feel scary for some people to ask. I kind of started asking them from a very young age because I found myself in these conversations, very deep conversations. And yeah, that's a good question that you asked me, actually. And I think the dots are also connected there. Since we've had a commercial break, my hair is different now.
Okay. Then I will need to find some sponsors for this video to roll the commercial. Okay. So yeah, we were talking about your journey to the coaching, and I just wanted to ask for more, personal background, if it's okay with you. You already told about your university study, and after that you said you went for a corporate job. And how long have you been in corporate? What was it? Was it something at least remotely close to the coaching? And how did you manage to make the actual decision to go from corporate to being essentially a freelancer?
Yeah, great question. So I'm a bit of a multi-interested person, since I was a kid. And I mentioned this because I never really started thinking about a career or what a career even was and what it meant, and until quite later on within my working journey, right? So I studied English studies, English philology in university, something that's got nothing to do with me, but anyways, there's always silver linings. Out of that came my first job. I got certified as a teacher, and I taught English for a couple of years, which was really enjoyable, actually. And then I did a couple more things. I then moved to Amsterdam, which is where I lived before I moved to Portugal. I lived there for several years, and I got into corporate first through retail, actually. I managed a very big, massive store, and I say massive because I mean the amount of hours that I had to walk around through it was insane. But I became an assistant manager for a retail store for a couple of years, and that's when I ended up in music eventually. And also you were asking me, like, what is the connection in coaching? Well, as a manager, I had to deal with, at the time, I remember, a lot of single moms that were really young, and some of them made it late to work because they had to take their kids to school and all of this stuff. And I remember having those conversations, right? Like, again, not even knowing what coaching really was at the time, but having those conversations like, hey, how do we make this better for you? Like, what boundaries do we need to set? Do we need to talk about your contract and how many hours you're working, etc.? So, and then I moved into the music industry, which is the favorite of my corporate experiences. I worked in the music industry for 8 years. I was music industry, specifically music data, but then I also within the company, and then as a freelancer, I started doing event organization, because I used to work with a bunch of incredible people who also happened to be musicians. And, you know, I wanted to multi-interested, right? I just wanted to do different things. And the music data thing, I mean, it was cool, but it wasn't really for me, right? It was really static for what I was looking. So I started organizing events. And then years down the line, I also got into team building facilitation within the company. But again, there was always something missing. And whether that was because I was an expat, you know, Spanish citizen, whatever, living in Amsterdam, and I didn't know how long I wanted to stay for. I didn't know really what to do. Like, did I need a career? Did I want a career? Like, where, you know, what's my passion? Like, all of these things that I believe at times also come with a lot of pressure. No, asking someone, well, what's your passion and what's your talent and what's your, I mean, they're fantastic questions. Some people have the answer to them, and that's amazing. And some people don't. And those who don't sometimes feel, I know I did feel the pressure of like, oh, I need to find this and I need to, when, I mean, all along I was just in the kitchen asking people what they wanted to do, and like, I couldn't see it. You have to work with people. So many years in corporate, after many years in the music industry, many years in Amsterdam, it came to a point in which I said, okay, stop. Like, I have to, I'd been in therapy for years and it helped me on many different topics, but there was nothing it seemed to be able to do about my never ending, what the hell do I want to do headache. So I said, okay, it's time for a change. I made significant changes. Physically, mainly, I started exercising a lot, which made a very big difference. And then I hired a coach, right? And I've mentioned this before, through the question of like, hey, if time and money was not a problem, what would you be doing? And then, you know, I finally came to the conclusion, okay, it's time for you to give yourself the chance, because I had never given myself the chance before. So it's time for you to give yourself the chance to try this out and, you know, see if it's for you and see if you can take it seriously. So I studied, and then I quit my corporate job. I left Amsterdam. I left everything, actually. Boom. I just kind of, within 3 months, I just left, and I was, well, in between Barcelona and Portugal at the time.
And you had a great exposure to different cultures.
Yeah.
First you were teaching English,
Thankfully.
then you moved to Amsterdam, and now Portugal. And how do you think it affected you as a coaching professional?
Yeah, that's a great question. I guess something that has always come from me in coexisting and co-living and, you know, working with people from around the world is perception and perspectives change. No, like if I come with, imagine I came only with my Spanish experience and standards and way of looking at the world, then I would be, in my opinion, missing out on everything else that is out there to offer. And I think that having had the privilege, because I consider it a privilege and the opportunity to be surrounded by so many different cultures, has given me the opportunity to, well, look at life differently, really. You know, through like different lens. There's different lens, you know, and at the end of the day, everything is culture. No, I had a teacher at university that taught me this. Like, you go to a bar, if they have flowers or not in the counter, like that is a representation of culture. Like what chairs they pick, what. I thought, wow, this is so interesting. So definitely, it's always been an eye opener for me, and it's taught me to go beyond my thinking, as my yoga teacher used to say, like dig a bit deeper.
Right. And if we will talk about more, you know, practical aspect of coaching career, do you think again exposure to different cultures helped you building your coaching career or affected it in some way?
Well, it gives you more exposure to different markets. Like the more people you know, right? The more people that you have genuine connections with, if they happen to be from different places in the world, or they have connections to different places in the world, it allows for your visibility to be spread around a lot more, right? And it also allows, as us coaches, it allows us to have a bit of a market kind of understanding. Like, what are these guys over here doing? Like, how is coaching seen in Portugal versus how it's seen in Spain versus how it's seen in Russia? Like, you know, what do I think it just gives more overall information, which can be confusing at times. Like, there's already a lot of noise everywhere, but it can definitely be quite eye-opening as well in terms of visibility.
Yeah, and if you're willing to navigate through this huge amount of information, and if you are able to navigate through all this information, I think it benefits you greatly, because I'm really grateful to know you and to again be exposed to first different culture, but be able to talk coaching about you. And your experience, and how do you see the market, European coaching market? And by the way, what can you tell about European coaching market? Something very general. Let's start with something very general, because again, if you will need to tell a newbie from a different country, how does coaching market looks like in Europe? For example, for yourself, who knows Spanish, obviously, English, again, obviously you were teaching English, and I know you speak Portuguese as well. Maybe Dutch, this I'm not sure.
Please don't. Unfortunately, I don't speak Dutch. That's my own fault. There's many reasons for it. I don't speak Dutch. I do speak Italian, though. Very well.
Okay. So how coaching market looks like for a newbie, or for you having exposure to different cultures, different languages?
Yeah. So I can only share my opinion and my experience so far within Western Europe, right? And what my experience has been with this sector of Europe, so to say. The number one thing that I've learned that was very important for me to learn is, and I've mentioned this before, is that different countries have different perceptions and opinions on what coaching is and what it isn't, and its effectiveness, and its on the whole industry as a whole. Different countries seem to have different opinions. For instance, when I used to tell people, and I've tested this out, like when I used to tell people I'm a coach in Amsterdam, the reaction was completely different to when I've told Portuguese people that I'm a coach. Yeah, it's been completely different. So I'd say the countries that have been exposed or have have been willing to integrate a coaching philosophy and coaching culture within their countries before others have, they'll have I don't know if it's not about better or worse, but they'll have a more informed opinion of what coaching is and how it can benefit people or organizations and groups, etc. Whereas those that have only been exposed to like one type of coaching, which in my opinion is, up until now at least, has been what I've seen in Portugal, they've been exposed to coaching that has ended up in being a fraud. Like people, you know, what do you call this? Help me out here, Sergey. Like people, asking for money for like shit services, or like people that are untrained. Also, to mention, and I should have maybe started with this, the coaching industry, not only in Western Europe, but like around the world, continues to be a very unregulated industry, right? Which means that they are like the grandfathers of coaching that have these institutions, the International Coaching Federation being the main one that says, yes, okay, this course follows a set of standards that has passed like our ethics, that is morally correct, and so, but other coaching schools that offer, I don't know, like 48-hour coaching programs, like become certified in 48 hours. Some of these things aren't regulated, right? Which means that in my opinion, over-collapsed world of coaching nowadays is full of really good people that own a certificate and have worked hard for it and stand by it, but also people that might be very good but aren't certified. And then there's also people out there that are shit and try to coach you on things that they know nothing about. So it's overpopulated, right? So it's easy to become a coach if you want to be a coach. Yeah, what else is there to say about the Western? And I mean, but I do think overall, at least within Western Europe, we are getting more and more accustomed to the coaching culture, and it's being incorporated by more people individually, but also companies, right? More and more companies are seeking to hire coaches or choose to work with a coach so that their team can talk better, understand themselves better, come up with a better plan, come up with better productivity, so on and so forth. So it's catching up, I would say.
It's that's really good to hear. And what is essentially available for a new coach going to the market? You can be like life coach, personal one-to-one life coach. You can be a group coach. You can be a corporate coach. Which can look like look in a different way. You can be a corporate coach in terms of that you are a business coach doing some trainings for a corporation or for employees, or you can be an internal corporate coach, employed by a company and doing coaching mostly inside of a company, part of your maybe personal practice, which I cannot imagine any coach, even a corporate one, employed by the corporation, not having their personal practice as well.
Right.
So everything that I've told, this is how the market looks like. Anything you can add to that?
No, I mean, I think you've described it quite well, especially for people that want to have more information about like the ins and outs of coaching and how you can be a coach within I don't know what I was going to say. How you can be, like how you can perform as a coach, right? Like, there's many paths that you can take. I don't think I have anything to
add. Another aspect is money. What is you feel is an average earning per, I don't know which would be easier for you, per year, per month? What is a price per session? Usual one, price per coaching, I don't know, few sessions, and how, for example, how do you market? Do you sell individual sessions? Do you sell a kind of I don't know, package deal, or how do you call it even? I'm not sure how do you call this?
Yeah, no, and I hear you, and I want to second you on that, because when it comes to pricing, I think that there's some language around it that I personally find very icky and kind of salesy, and maybe this is my own shit in my head talking to me, but I'm also on the journey of finding new words around pricing. But yeah, so to your question, I think that again, coaching is an unregulated industry, right? Which means that you can basically come up with whatever sum it is that you want to come up for yourself and roll with that. No, however, these things, what I've learned so far is that how much you charge and how you want to do that usually depends on the experience that you have, right? So there's margins, like you go online and you type in like coach, I don't know, like Amsterdam coach salary 2023, and they'll tell you that within the first 2 years, this is like normally what people charge per session. That's what I've seen most often, like the amount that people charge per session as like an average. And of course, the higher level of seniority and experience that you have, then the higher your prices can be. And also the prices are determined by the kind of, going back to the title, by the title that you have. So an executive coach might be charging €300 an hour versus a life coach with 2 years of experience, which on average in Western Europe is around 100 to 150 euro, right?
If we want to stick with a life coach, let's say starting coach, 0 years of experience, what is the average cost or average price per session?
Well, that's very subjective. I would say
totally.
I find that completely subjective. Like I remember when I started, I was offering, when I was still in certification, I was asked, it was part of the program to have paid clients in the certification part of the process. And I was charging at the time, it was 35 euros an hour. That was during my certification. And I came up with that price. I mean, I was terrified of putting myself out there and attaching a price to myself.
As everybody does.
As everybody at the start, it's very common to go through this. It's normal. My head, I still have this nowadays, and I've been at it for like 2 years and a half, so it's normal. But I started with 35 euros. And I also at the time heard somebody say that, to your question, someone that doesn't have any experience or is just like starting out, I would say check in with your integrity. Like, what is the price? Because I do think it's still important for people to get paid. Like the work that coaches do is extremely valuable and can have, such big impacts on people's lives. So I do, and also getting into the practice of asking money, if you end up freelancing or being a business owner, it's a really good practice to get into. Like ask people money for the service that you're giving them, right? But it's a good question to kind of like check in and say, like, what price am I at integrity with? Which can be a tricky question, right? Because some people might end up charging a lot more than others, or you might end up underpricing yourself. But I'm here to share what has worked for me. I asked myself this question, like, where do you feel at integrity? And I started with 35. And then I got into the practice, like after each month of me coaching more people, I said, okay, increase your price a little bit and a little bit more, and a little bit more. No? So to help with how freaked out I was, but also to just get into the habit of like speaking my prices out loud. And
so you're telling that you were increasing gradually.
Yeah.
Okay. And after a year of practice, how the price looked like? Or let's say I have a year of practice. I am in Europe. How much should I charge?
Oh my God. Well, I would need to ask you a lot more questions before I'm able to answer
without
that
any
question,
background information, but in general, I'm a life coach.
And I'm basing this on statistics, right? So within Europe, especially if you're targeting a Western European market, I would say with a year of experience, you could go from like 70 to like 100, something like this per hour, right?
Well, I think that I was somewhere in those numbers as well, at least in my head, not as with the real pricing, because I market to Europe and to Russian-speaking countries, which I cannot charge. Well, I can charge more, but I don't want to at this point. And of course, further down the line, you cannot compare different coaches, and you cannot really say that 5-year experienced coach should charge this amount of money, because in 5 years every coach will have totally different experience and totally different practice. And somebody can charge like 1,000 euro per session, or another person 500, and another person like 150, and they are all gonna be like 5 years experienced coaches. But when you're starting, it's kind of more averaged along the whole coaching community. So I think, it's safe to say that 70 to 100 is kind of the price to go. Okay, speaking of the whole earning, I personally don't do more than like 3 coach sessions per day, which limits my earning. But I know that I just physically mentally cannot do more. So how do you feel about, the upper limit of the earning? Is it the same for you? Is it the same, more or less the same for everyone?
My limit is also 3 sessions a day. I've done up to 4. One of them wasn't an actual session. It was a sample session. I mean, coaching is involved in that. So, but yeah, I've done up to 4 and I find it exhausting. Yeah. You know, I was speaking to a friend the other day who's a teacher, and he said, well, I don't, you know, I get paid a teacher salary as if I were teaching for 8 hours a day, but actually I'm only teaching for 3 or 4 because, you know, it would be mentally exhausting to teach for more hours than just like 3-4 sessions a day. And I think that applies to coaches as well. It's and this is why prices can at times sound a bit kind of scary. Coaching prices can sound a bit scary, but that also is because we do less sessions within a day. And the reason why we do that is because, I mean, the amount of focus, attention, you know, everything that is involved from the coach in order to will give your best really and be there fully present for your client, it takes a lot of mental energy, right? And having to do that for 8 hours, I mean, I cannot even imagine. If there's somebody out there who is doing and is doing it successfully, I want to speak to them. No. I can't do it. I'd rather do less and even get less money if that's what it means, but ensure that I do it to the best of my capacity and be there for my clients than to like stuff myself with sessions just for the sake of whatever that means, right? I think as coaches, as people working so intimately, as you said before, with other people, we need to take care of our mental health, right? We have to be there. We have to be well in order to avoid a potential burnout, in order to be the best that we can be at what we do. We need to be mentally there.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on this one. And yes, you can. I cannot imagine somebody, a coach, working, 8 hours back-to-back sessions even with a lunch break. Yes, having I don't know, 100 euros per session will be like 16,000 per month, but it is not possible. Mentally is the first thing. So yeah, since we have a couple of minutes left, I have 2 questions, which I hope you will be able to answer in short. One question. First question: do you have any like significant fail or win? Significant win that you had in your coaching career that you will be willing to share?
Yeah, definitely. Many fails, also wins, both. I think it's part of the.
If we will limit to one.
To one.
Win or fail.
Or fail. What? Okay, so the fail was not dealing with my own inner demons, not dealing with my own mental health before I did. And this means, you know, I struggled a lot with imposter syndrome at the start of this journey. Is it possible? How? But, you know, what are people gonna, I struggled a lot with this. And it's not I wouldn't call it a fail. What I would do differently is I would have looked for help and support way before I did. I ended up seeking for support, right? Because without getting this sort of like issue resolved, my coaching sessions didn't struggle, thank God, because the imposter syndrome never came from me as a coach in a one-on-one session. It came from the business side of things, like, can I be a successful freelancer, like all of this stuff, right? And living with that imposter syndrome delayed launching my business and be able to enjoy it the way that I enjoy it now. So yeah, talk to people about the way that you feel.
Good advice. And I'm not really sure if I want to ask the last question, because the last question was, what advice would you give yourself if you would start in right now? Is it the same thing, or is it something else you want to add to that?
It is that, definitely. So you know, I think starting a business especially a coaching business, is a fantastic opportunity to get to learn a lot about yourself. So yes, definitely that advice I would also give, but also understand that there's a difference between what happens in a coaching session and how to build a business. Like that, there's a crucial difference, right? Of like what has to be done in order to launch a coaching business and have it be successful, etc. So I would definitely suggest for people to get to know the strategy behind it. You know, if they have the means, the financial means to like even sign up. There are many courses out there that teach this kind of stuff. There are some that aren't very good. There are some that are really, really good. So I would definitely, you know, if people have the financial means to get further educated into how to start a coaching business, unless they know it already, in that case, great. But if they don't, get on that, like do that work. And if that's not affordable, or even if it is, like go talk to coaches that are established and ask them for a virtual coffee, or get them a coffee if you live in the same city, and ask if you can ask them questions. I think that mentorship, I wish I would have asked someone for a coffee a year and a half ago. Yeah.
This is the greatest and best advice.
Right?
Really,
would you agree?
yes. This is the greatest advice that I would want to hear myself when I was starting as well. This is the thing that can really, you know, change your practice from just starting somehow and struggling at the start to being a successful coach very, very early in your practice, which is very important to do in terms of even dealing with the imposter syndrome as a coach or a business owner of a coaching business. Well, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it, and I really cannot stress this enough, how it was important for me to talk with you, and I hope it will be important for others to look at this interview, because what I thought that would happen is that you will tell me how different coaching world, like Western European, I don't know, coaching world, how much it is different comparing to my experience of a Russian-speaking coach. But you did not really. You just
well, good, right?
Yeah, and this is great, because this is great to hear that it's not that different. Your experience is not that different from mine in terms of what is going on around myself as a coaching professional. And this is great to hear. I hope it will bring much more confidence to everybody who will hear this conversation.
Absolutely. And good luck to them, right? It's fun. Join the coaching clan. Thanks a lot for having me, Sergey. I really enjoyed this. Thank you.